And I don't want to throw anyone down. It would certainly ruin the rest of your day. And that's not to mention the fact that my engineer's nickname is Lurch. I also ask that you folks do not eat while you're on the train, but most importantly, please folks, no smoking. Our deserts are a tinderbox and we don't want to be responsible for starting any wildfires. Now I'm going to be pointing out some of the history to you along the way. Please do bear with me. I am old. It'll be the history I remember, whether it happened or not. On the side of the train that faces the canyons, where you've got that gorgeous 100-mile view, I'll refer to as the east side of the train. The side of the train that faces the bluff over here, where you have no view, I'll refer to as the west side of the train. That way you'll know which direction to look whenever I point something out. Now there is one more thing I do need to mention. On the way down the Gold Hill, as required by law, I will be riding on the rear platform of the train. Now the reason for that is the engineer cannot see the rails behind us. If there's any obstructions on the rails, things like wild horses, wild deer, wild buffalo, wild antelope, wild camels, or wild parties, if anything's going on those rails, I do have an emergency brake lever down there. I will pull that brake lever. The train does stop immediately. Well, folks, as we leave our 1870 depot, if you'll look directly off the east side of the train, you're going to be looking out that large gap in the Washoe Mountains with a named 6 Mile Canyon. Now, that was named 6 Mile Canyon for a very specific reason, because it's a canyon and it's 6 miles long. Nothing else I can think of. But that large mountain standing upright in the center of the canyon was named over 160 years ago by the immigrants and pioneers. They named that mountain Sugarloaf. And after crossing the great 40-mile desert and coming up through the Carson Plains, the easiest way to get to Virginia City was through 6 Mile Canyon. Once they saw Sugarloaf Mountain, they knew they were near their destination and hopefully a better life. Now across the narrow canyon next to us, atop that huge pile of tailings, you'll see the remains of the combination shaft. The combination shaft at one time was the deepest mine in the world. The combination shaft was a joint mining effort between 4 mining companies on the Comstock Lode. In their wisdom, they thought a main vein of ore existed directly under that spot, and if they sunk that mine shaft, they'd all become very rich. But folks, there was a problem. There was no main vein of ore. That shaft only brought up some very low-grade ore. Now we're about to go under a 150-year-old ore trestle. This is how ore was brought from mines on the west side of the rails over to that crusher mill on the east side. Now as we go underneath this trestle, I'd like you folks to take a look at those large rocks laying on the ground underneath it. Those large rocks laying there, so feeling a little lucky today, come on back later with a great big hammer. You can go to work on one of those rocks and you might just strike your fortune. Pretty sure it's a little luckier than one of those slot machines anyway. When mining began on the Comstock Road around 1860, the only way to get the ore down to the mills on the Carson River was by wagon and mule. It was very expensive, and it took over a week for a wagon load of ore to make it down the mountains. In 1869, a man named William Sharon on the board of directors of the Bank of California took an interest in the mining on the Comstock Road and thought it would be profitable for that bank to build a railroad between Carson City and Virginia City. Construction began in February 1869 with 1,500 workers employed to build the line. Coming to 21 miles from Carson City and Virginia City, 7 hours were done through the Washoe Mountains, and the railroad comes up nearly 1,800 feet coming through those canyons, the railroad makes enough twists and turns that it equals 18 complete circles before arriving here in town, giving us the nickname of the crookedest railroad in the world. It took 11 months to build this railroad. The first passengers were unloaded in Virginia City in January 1870. Now in a moment or so, we're going to be passing under the Highway 341 overpass. Now at one time, this was tunnel number 5 of those 7 tunnels between Carson City and Virginia City. When the highway was built in 1932, they took the whole top off that mountain and did what's called daylight the tunnel. Now that worked out pretty well, but there is something we always question. As we go underneath that bridge, take a look at those great big steel columns beneath it. You might notice the same thing we did. Those great big steel columns stock in the Ward Bullion shaft. And as soon as all that money cleared the San Francisco Stock Exchange and ended up as cash in their pockets, well, at that time those two fellas just sat back and smiled and declared this shaft a bust and closed it. And but don't feel too bad now for all those people who lost all their money investing in it. They all did get something. They all got the shaft. Well, folks, if you'll take a look down into one of our beautiful Nevada canyons in the early morning hours, you often see a lot of the wildlife that roam here. We do have those herds of wild mustangs, and of course we're very proud of them. We also have a lot of coyote, mule deer, black-tailed deer, jackrabbits, cottontails. We've got the cutest ground squirrels this side of the Sierra Nevadas. We've got the red-tailed hawk and the California quail, and the bad boys of the desert as well, the Great Basin rattlesnake, some mountain lion, and some bobcat. Now, you might notice there are no lumber-producing trees in the Washoe Mountains. We are in an area called high desert, at over 6,200 feet in altitude, and there's very little water up here to support that type of growth. All the lumber for the mines, mills, homes, and businesses came from the beautiful Sierra Nevada mountains, and most all of that was brought here by the Virginia and Truckee Railroad. The trees you do see growing here, the larger one is the pinyon pine, one of Nevada's state trees. The smaller, lighter-colored tree is the mountain juniper. Now, the pinyon pine produces a little nut within that small pine cone that the Washoe Indians and Paiute Indians would come up in the fall months to harvest for their winter stores of food. Now, coming around the next little curve off the east side of the train on the bluff nearest us, you'll see the remains of the East Yellow Jacket Mine. Now, the East Yellow Jacket Mine was one of the highest producing mines on the Comstock Lode. It's also the site of the greatest disaster ever on it. Eventually, they were able to recover 34 of those poor souls, but 5 of them were just never found. They may still be at the bottom of that shaft even today. Now we're about to enter tunnel number 4. For those of you who are afraid of the dark, when we go through the tunnel, please close your eyes. Tunnel number 4 is 436 feet long from end to end. It took those workers in 1869 2.5 months to dig this tunnel to solid rock with pick and shovel only. Miners that worked on the Comstock Road were a pretty tough bunch. They had a nickname at that time. They were called muckers, and that was a name of respect for them. They would work in those mines 6 days a week, 8 hours a day, and temperatures about 120 degrees at the lower levels. Now at those temperatures, they could only work about 15 minutes at a time. Then they would have to proceed upward in the main shaft and off the side of what was called a drift. At the end of that drift, they kept ice and cold water. They cooled down a bit, They go back to work for about 15 minutes more. During that period of time, miners around the world made about 80 cents a day for their labor. Miners on the Comstock Lode were in such high demand, they became the highest paid miners in the world at $4 a day. Now, folks, that's the equivalent of $54 an hour now. At the end of their shift, they could go to Virginia City, they could order a 2-inch thick steak weighing about 2 pounds and a great big plate of beans, and that meal would cost them that rust. But they could take down the processing plants and process. Coming into view down in the canyon, you'll see the Golden Saloon, the oldest operating hotel in Nevada. It opened in 1859 as a ten-story hotel built up front. It was built 2 years later in 1861. Still in there. Of the cash and stock exchange area in the early days went up to $1 million when exchange hands in cash and buying stock right on that very street. Coming around the curve to the grade crossing off the east side, you'll see the monument to the Liberty Volunteer Fire Company. These were the brave volunteer firefighters that protected Gold Hill, whose steep wooden chutes into what's called the ore bin at the bottom. The rest of this ore bin was sufficiently full. As we pass it here, you'll see 3 doors on the front that would be open, and the ore would then be dumped into railroad cars to be taken for crushing and processing. As the train does pull to a stop here, something a little interesting off the east. Now that was done in an effort to prevent that headwind from turning. Folks, at this point, back to the city. I want to show you on the way back and some things to tell you about. But if anyone has any questions about the Virginia Trucking Railroad,
thank you.
Control. 38. 38. Okay. Sige, JP. Okay. Sige nga, i-vlog mo naman kami.
Yeah. Isa-shoutout ko kayo. Is this your, what do you call this? Yeah. This is the Cafe de Manila here in Reno, Nevada. This is my first time here to eat. Actually, every city that we're going to, my husband was looking for a, it's okay, looking for a Filipino restaurant, and I think this is one of the big Filipino restaurant here in Reno, Nevada. Masarap naman yung pagkain nila and reasonable price. This is Miss Loida Parker, married to an American.
Actually, I'm a widow from an American.
Okay. She's the owner of this Filipino restaurant, Cafe de Manila, here in Reno. So follow this restaurant.
They should
Yeah.
make the stop.
Yeah.
We have trouble finding Filipino restaurants that are good. That's why I told us you need to love this one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sometimes because I'm shy to ask. Diba?
Here, I'm American. I'm not shy about anything.
So I have a place to stop now, huh?
Yeah, we have a place to eat when we
Yeah.
come here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, nice meeting you, Ate
Salamat,
Loida.
Ange.
See
Ano
you
yung name,
again.
sir?
I'm
Walter.
Walter, thanks. Nice meeting you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Sige, thank you.
Oh.
The menu.
Thank ko lang doon.